Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. My name is Mars, and today we're going to be kicking off a new series on the channel. And this series is aimed at creating trial guides for older content, but with 2019 units and strategies in mind. I do get a lot of questions from people about how to beat older trials, and a lot of the responses they get are, just go kill it with a strong unit. But sometimes that's hard, especially in the Chamber of Arms where we are now. And one of the things that I realized that for new players is getting equipment is very difficult starting out, because you either need to farm Trust Master rewards, or you need to buy into certain things or hope for Super Trust Master rewards, because equipment takes time to accumulate. So the Chamber of Arms is a good place for you to dive in, get some equipment, help your team out a little bit. So today we're going to go ahead and dive into the first of the trials, Sheratan, and then we'll jump into some of the other ones later. And my goal behind this one is to use only a couple of 7-star units so that they can make it as easy as possible, and then some other units to fill some of the other roles, because I feel like for new players that's going to be the most attainable. So for most of these, the units that I will be using are 7-star breakers and 7-star damage dealers. If you don't have one of those, acquiring one should be your highest priority in the game. Now with this particular trial, the most important rewards we're looking out for are the Holy Wand, which is a really nice item for people who are interested in spirit. It's a light element staff that gives 120 spirit and dual white magic, so this is handy for new players for sure. And then strategist ingenuity, which I don't remember what it does. I think it gives magic and spirit or something like that. And then these other ones are just a bonus. So looking at the team that I have right here, you can ignore these. You don't actually need the magic tanks. I threw them in for no reason. But what I'm using here is a 7-star breaker and a 7-star damage dealer. As far as their builds go and which ones to use, it really doesn't matter. The breakers really make a huge difference in old content, so you definitely want to get your hands on them. With Auron here, we're going to be using his 60% breaks in the first phase, and then we're going to be using his stronger breaks later. Zeno is here as our damage dealer, and he's got a pretty new player friendly build. Pretty much all these items here can be acquired very easily, honestly. A lot of this stuff is free or easier trial rewards. He has one TMR, which is his own helmet, which is highly recommended. It gives him a lot of stats, so you definitely want this. But other than that, this is all stuff that you can get as a very new player. And then there are some attack 30% materias, which for some people they may not have that yet, but it's kind of representative of using item world rolls on weapons. So you can see I don't have item world rolls on the weapons. I'm just making up for it by having some attack materias here. And of course we want plant killer because Sheratan is a plant. So for this boss, you want to make sure that you're not using dark or earth damage because it does absorb it, but you do want somebody who can do that type of damage so that you can get the mission. Now everybody else is almost naked. Auron has his TMR equipped just in case he has the ability to use his limit burst so that he gets the upgrade on it. I'm using Minfilia as a support unit. She's basically just there to buff stats and to buff elemental resistance. You can replace her with just about anybody who can do the same thing. Aria's here for some healing, and she's got some pretty easy to acquire stuff. And I mean, they're as close to budget friendly as possible. They really don't have a whole lot. Now I'm using Enhanced Veritas of the Earth for my tank here, because he is one of the better 4-star tanks. Now if you have any 7-star tank in the game, you can replace Earth Veritas and you'll have a similar result. So these are the 5 characters I'm going in with, although one I do need to swap in is... So to do one of the missions, as you'll remember, is to do dark and earth damage. Earth Veritas can do that very easily because he has stone magics. Any type of dark damage will do. I believe my anima has some dark attack. I think he has like dark or darkra if I remember right. If you don't have anima yet, no big deal. Any source of dark damage will do. You just don't want it to be from your damage dealer because then you'll do no damage to the boss. So this is all we're going to run in with. If you have a strong breaker and an okay damage dealer, because I mean this amount of attack on someone like Zeno should be pretty easy, You can use Esther, you can use Sabin, you can use Red 13, you can even use units like Hyo or Akstar. Like you have so many options. I just picked Zeno because he's one of the more recent ones. So without further ado, let's jump on in. Now, the reason that this trial is much easier to do now than it was previously as to when it came out is because back then the best breaks we had were like 45 or 50% breaks. But with Aron, we have much stronger ones, or with, whichever 7-star breaker you're using. And the most important thing is to break attack and magic on this boss. That will make it so that a party of almost any durability level can survive this. You'll see, I've got some mostly naked units up here in the front. Earth Veritas is the only one with any sort of gear, and even then he's not that well geared. Now I'm using him as a provoke tank in this fight, so you can use any tank with provoke. The alternative is that you can use a physical cover skill, anything that will reduce the damage going out to the rest of the party. I'm just using provoke. You can use cover as well. Either one works. And then Arya is just here for some MP management or for some healing. Honestly, you can replace her with any healer. The 3-star base Roselia is actually probably a better healer than any other budget one. So she's just there to help us with some of that. Now Minfilia is my defense and spirit buffer on this turn. You can use anybody who can buff stats. Minfilia is a really old unit, so not a lot of people have her, but any excuse I have to bring her out again, I'm going to use it. And yeah, so you can replace her with any buffer, and you may even be able to leave her out, especially because units like Zeno buff himself. So with Zeno, we're going to go ahead and do some of his damage rotation. Whichever damage dealer you're using, just follow their best practices for building damage. And as you'll see, we do a pretty fair amount of damage right out of the gate. Now, like most Chamber of Arms bosses, this boss does have thresholds. This one has a health threshold at 50%, which means that if you do more than 50% HP damage, it will stop there, and then the boss will transform. So you want to just hold up, make sure that you're ready before you cross that threshold. Now, as you can see, there was a little bit of AoE damage, not too bad. If it takes you a few turns to get down to that 50% mark, not a big deal. Just kind of heal up and get your tank rolling, for example. And then Minfilia is going to boost paralysis resist. So this boss does put out paralysis. So if you're going to be taking a few turns to clear stuff and your tank doesn't have paralysis resist, you do want to make sure they have a buff to it. Aron doesn't need to do anything this turn, and we're going to go ahead and wait for the 3rd turn so that you can see what it looks like. We're going to go ahead and take a bunch of single target damage. Not a big deal. Earth Veritas is just provoking and soaking that up. No trouble at all. Perfect, perfect. Lots of LB crystals from Earth Veritas. That's one of the reasons I like him a lot. Now, on the boss's 3rd turn, we need to make sure that we have some earth resistance up. You can do it with like Bar Stonra from an Esper, or you can do, in this case, Minfilia has it, Earth Veritas also has it, and I think his Earth Resist buff is better. You just want to make sure you have that so that you don't get hit too hard. I think this will also be the turn where I go ahead and do some, I'll wait on the dark damage. See, yeah, and I'll wait on the earth damage too. I just don't want Earth Veritas to go down on this next turn. So we're going to go ahead and reactivate Provoke, just in case. Arya's Limit Burst does a full heal on the party, so that's just really handy in case you need it. And then we're going to go ahead and reapply some breaks with Aron. Even though they haven't fallen off yet, it's just handy to have them ready to go. So this turn we're going to take some AoE earth damage, as well as a gravity type attack, some MP steal. There's a lot of stuff going on this turn. So if it has taken you this long, no big deal. That's just how you deal with that particular turn. We're going to go ahead and push the threshold this turn. Do be aware that this is the turn where you're probably going to take the most damage. So if you have extra defensive buffs, like here with Minfilia, you want to make sure you have them ready to go. Arya's going to go ahead and use the dark damage for the mission. Earth Veritas is going to put up damage mitigation, just in case. You probably really don't need it. And then Zeno's kind of been out of commission on his damage rotation. We're gonna reset that. And we're just going to double break again. We really don't need to, but we're just going to do it anyways because Sauron doesn't have anything to do. So as you can see, we pushed 50% on that turn, so now the boss will transform. Now this is where things can get a little bit spicier. You're going to see that we're going to take a bunch of dark damage, which is going to ouch, but because of the breaks, it's not too bad. Now you'll see that 2 additional enemies spawned, these fruits. This is where it's really helpful to have a 7-star breaker with an AoE breaking ability like Auron. If your breaker doesn't have an AoE skill or it's locked to their LB, just make sure that you're prepared for that when it's your turn to get there. So these fruits can actually hurt you quite a bit. So it's important to make sure that you kill them as quickly as possible. The good news is that most modern damage dealers are going to be able to kill them very quickly, very, very easily. So I'm going to go ahead and just hopefully kill this one this turn. Oh, that just killed everything. I killed both the fruits. That's actually great. The fruits probably hurt the most, and so it's important to just be protected from them. Now Earth Veritas is going to do his LB again, just for some more mitigation, make survival a little easier, and then just in case we get hit with the dark attack again, Minfilia is going to buff resistance to that. And these are just some of the elements you have to deal with. You shouldn't feel like you have to copy this party exactly, because everybody's got to manage this in their own way. Not everybody has all of the same units. So if you're using someone like Esther, or if you're using Sabin, or if you're using Hyo or whatever, just keep those individual considerations in mind. Now this turn we should be able to kill the boss pretty easily, but before we do that we want to make sure that we have all of our missions. We want to beat Sheratan in 20 turns, we're going to do that very easily. We want to defeat it with an Esper, so we can make sure we're ready for that. And we want to do Earth and Dark damage. So we already did Dark damage with Arya, so we just want to make sure that we're going to do some Earth damage, and we can do that with Earth Veritas right here. So easy, some Earth damage. And then Zeno's going to go ahead and prep his biggest damage turn, which I think is these skills. And then Auron is going to go ahead and get a limit burst or a Esper summon ready to go, so that we can get the kill with Esper mission. Now, if you are newer to the game, you may not know that the Esper doesn't actually have to kill the boss. It just has to hit after the boss's HP is 0%. So with some good timing, like I think that would have done it for us, you just have to have that hit land after the boss's HP hits 0. And that is Sheratan with all missions. 2 7-star units to make it super, super easy for you. And that's about all there is to it. You can substitute pretty much any of the characters in this party with a lot of different options. So if you're not sure what to take into the fight, go ahead and put that in the comments and we can help each other out. So with that, let me know, what did you think of this video? Is this the sort of series that you would like to see on this channel? I think it'll be interesting and fun because I know a lot of new players are kind of a little bit baffled. They'll look at some old guides and be like, well, I don't have Cecil. You know, how am I gonna do this? I don't have Cecil, or I don't have Refia with dual cast. Like, I don't have any of these old units. And so creating an updated guide for new players to make it easier for them to kind of get into the game sooner so they can start getting equipment and things like that. It just seemed like a good idea to be able to help people. So let me know down in the comments below what you thought of this video, and I will see everybody in the next one.